What if I told you that the world's highest paid athlete once slept in a gym because his family couldn't afford proper housing? That a kid who was mocked for his accent and appearance would one day become football royalty? The story of Cristiano Ronaldo's rise from absolute poverty to becoming a global icon is so incredible. It sounds like fiction. But here's the twist. The darkest moment of his childhood almost ended his career before it even began. Stay with me, because what happens next will change everything you think you know about success. Welcome back to the channel name. I'm about to take you on a journey through the most inspiring rags-to-riches story in modern sports. Before we dive into this incredible tale, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss our upcoming videos about legendary athletes who overcame impossible odds. Today, we're uncovering the untold story of how a poor kid from a tiny Portuguese island became CR7. But here's what most people don't know. His path to greatness was paved with heartbreak, rejection, and a life-threatening condition that could have ended everything. Picture this: February 5th, 1985, on the remote island of Madeira, Portugal. While most people think of Portugal as a prosperous European nation, Madeira in the 1980s was a world away from luxury. This was where Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro took his first breath, in a place where dreams seemed impossible. His father, Jose Dinis Aveiro, wasn't a businessman or a professional athlete. He was a municipal gardener and part-time kitman at a local football club, struggling to put food on the table. His mother, Maria Dolores, worked as a cleaner and cook, sometimes taking on 3 jobs just to survive. But here's where the story gets heartbreaking, and this is something Ronaldo himself rarely talks about. When Maria Dolores was pregnant with Cristiano, the family was so poor that she actually considered not having the baby. She was already struggling to feed 3 children, and the thought of another mouth to feed was overwhelming. Can you imagine? The world almost never got to witness the magic of CR7 because of poverty. But Maria Dolores made a decision that would change sports history forever. What do you think gave her the strength to continue? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The Aveiro family lived in a tiny house in Santo Antonio, one of the poorest neighborhoods in Funchal. We're talking about a home so small that Cristiano and his 3 siblings had to share everything: beds, clothes, even shoes. The walls were so thin you could hear everything happening next door, and the roof leaked when it rained. Young Cristiano would walk to school with holes in his shoes, patches on his clothes, and an empty stomach more often than not. His classmates would tease him relentlessly about his accent. Yes, even within Portugal, his Madeiran dialect made him an outsider. They called him names, mocked his appearance, and treated him like he didn't belong. But here's what's fascinating. Instead of breaking him, this rejection fueled something deep inside. Every insult, every laugh, every moment of humiliation was being stored away, creating a fire that would one day burn brighter than anyone could imagine. When Cristiano was just 3 years old, his father brought home something that would alter the course of history: a football. Not a fancy, expensive ball, but a simple, worn-out football that someone had discarded. For most kids, it would have been just another toy. For Cristiano, it became an obsession. He would sleep with that ball, take it everywhere, and spend every waking moment either kicking it or thinking about kicking it. His neighbors still remember seeing a tiny boy with messy hair dribbling a ball through the narrow streets of Santo Antonio at all hours. While other kids were watching TV or playing video games, Cristiano was outside, perfecting his touch, his speed, his control. But here's the part that will give you chills. His mother later revealed that even as a toddler, Cristiano would cry if someone took the ball away from him. It wasn't just play for him, it was like breathing. The ball wasn't just his toy, it was his escape from poverty, his hope for a different life. At age 7, he joined his first club, Andorinha, where his father worked. The other kids had proper boots, nice kits, and supportive families cheering from the sidelines. Cristiano had none of that. He played in borrowed boots that were too big, shirts that were too loose, and shorts that had seen better days. Have you ever had something you were so passionate about that nothing else mattered? Let me know in the comments what drives you like football drove young Cristiano. But here's where destiny began to reveal itself. Despite having the worst equipment and coming from the poorest family, Cristiano was already different. Coaches couldn't explain it, teammates couldn't understand it, but this kid had something magical in his feet. By age 10, he was dominating local competitions. Not just winning, dominating. Kids 2 and 3 years older couldn't keep up with him. His speed, his skill, his determination, it was like watching a man among boys. Now, here's where the story takes a turn that will break your heart and inspire you at the same time. When Cristiano turned 12, he received an invitation that would change everything. A trial at Sporting CP Academy in Lisbon, over 600 miles away from home. For most families, this would be a dream come true. For the Aveiros, it was a nightmare. They couldn't afford the travel, the accommodation, or the academy fees. But more than that, it meant their youngest son would have to leave home and live alone in a strange city. Imagine being 12 years old, leaving everything you've ever known, your family, your friends, your entire world, to chase a dream that might never come true. Most kids would be terrified. Cristiano was determined. His mother sold everything she could, jewelry, furniture, anything of value, to scrape together enough money for the journey. The night before he left, she held him tight and whispered something in his ear that he carries with him to this day. He's never revealed what she said, but whatever it was, it gave him the strength to face what came next. And what came next almost destroyed him completely. The loneliness, the bullying, and a medical condition that threatened to end his career before it began. But I'll tell you about that in just a moment. The journey to Lisbon was the longest of young Cristiano's life. As the ferry pulled away from Madeira, he watched his island disappear into the distance, not knowing when or if he would see his family again. When he arrived at the Sporting Academy, reality hit hard. The other boys came from wealthy families, spoke perfect Portuguese, and had been training at elite academies for years. Cristiano, with his thick Madeiran accent and second-hand clothes, stuck out like a sore thumb. The dormitory became his prison. While other boys went home on weekends, Cristiano stayed behind, alone with his thoughts and his fears. He would call his mother, crying, begging to come home. There were nights when he barely slept, wondering if he had made the biggest mistake of his life. If you think that's tough, wait until you hear what happened next. Because just when things couldn't get worse, Cristiano faced a medical crisis that almost ended his dream forever. At age 15, just as Cristiano was beginning to establish himself at Sporting, disaster struck. During a routine medical examination, doctors discovered something that sent shockwaves through his world, a racing heart condition called tachycardia. His heart was beating so fast and irregularly that doctors feared he might collapse during training or, worse, during a match. The medical team delivered devastating news. His football career might be over before it truly began. Can you imagine? After all the sacrifice, all the loneliness, all the hard work, everything could end because of something completely beyond his control. Most teenagers would have given up. Most would have accepted defeat and returned home. But here's where we see the first glimpse of the champion mentality that would define Cristiano's entire career. Instead of wallowing in self-pity, he researched everything about his condition. He spoke to every doctor, every specialist, every expert he could find. What would you have done in a situation? Would you have fought or would you have given up? Share your thoughts below. The treatment required a laser surgery on his heart, a risky procedure for a young athlete. As he lay on that operating table, not knowing if he would wake up able to play football again, Cristiano made a promise to himself. If he survived, if he could play again, he would never waste a single opportunity. The surgery was successful, but the recovery was brutal. Weeks of uncertainty, months of careful monitoring, and the constant fear that his heart might give out again. But slowly, gradually, he returned to training. And here's the incredible part. Some say that brush with mortality gave Cristiano a perspective that his competitors never had. Every match, every training session, every opportunity became precious because he knew how quickly it could all disappear. When he finally returned to full training, something had changed. His teammates noticed it, his coaches saw it, everyone around him felt it. Cristiano wasn't just playing football anymore. He was playing like his life depended on it. By 17, Cristiano had not only recovered from his heart condition, but had become sporting's most promising talent. But here's what's remarkable. He was still that same kid from Madeira, still sending money home to his family, still sleeping in basic dormitory accommodation. Then came a moment that changed football history. August 2003, a friendly match between Sporting CP and Manchester United. It was supposed to be a routine game to inaugurate Sporting's new stadium. Nobody expected it to be a life-changing event. But sometimes destiny has its own plans. That night, a 17-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo put on a performance that left some of the world's best players speechless. He was dribbling past Roy Keane like he was a traffic cone, nutmegging experienced defenders, and playing with a confidence that belied his age. Here's the part that gives me goosebumps every time. After the match, Manchester United players did something unprecedented. They approached Sir Alex Ferguson and told him he had to sign this kid immediately. Not next season, not next month, immediately. But Ferguson almost said no. The reason why will shock you. And what happened in the negotiation room reveals a side of young Cristiano that most people never knew existed. Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Rio Ferdinand, legends of the game, were so impressed that they couldn't stop talking about this teenager from a small Portuguese island. They had faced the best players in the world, but they said there was something different about Cristiano. Sir Alex Ferguson, a man who had discovered countless talents, was initially skeptical. He had seen many promising young players who couldn't handle the pressure of playing for Manchester United. But his players were so insistent that he agreed to meet with Cristiano. The meeting that followed would become legendary in football folklore, but most people don't know what really happened in that room. Picture this scene. A 17-year-old kid from one of Portugal's poorest families, sitting across from Sir Alex Ferguson, one of the most powerful men in football. The boy's hands are shaking slightly, but his eyes burn with an intensity that takes Ferguson by surprise. Ferguson later revealed that he had planned to offer Cristiano a modest contract, maybe some development time with the reserves. But something about the young man's presence changed his mind completely. Here's what most people don't know. During that meeting, Cristiano didn't just talk about his skills or his potential. He talked about his family, his mother working multiple jobs, his father's struggles, and his determination to change their lives forever. But then Ferguson asked him a question that would reveal everything. What makes you think you can succeed at Manchester United when players twice your age struggle here? Cristiano's answer has never been fully disclosed, but Ferguson said it was the most mature response he had ever heard from a teenager. Whatever he said, it convinced one of football's greatest managers to take a £12 million gamble on an unknown kid from Madeira. What do you think Cristiano said in that moment? Drop your best guess in the comments. I'd love to hear your theories. The contract negotiation revealed something fascinating about Cristiano's character. While most young players would focus on salary and bonuses, Cristiano had only one main request. He wanted assurance that part of his earnings would go directly to his family back in Madeira. Even at 17, even at the biggest moment of his career, his first thought was taking care of the people who had sacrificed everything for him. When the deal was announced, the football world was split. Many questioned whether Manchester United had overpaid for an improving teenager. Critics called it a risky gamble, a waste of money, a decision Ferguson would regret. They had no idea they were witnessing the beginning of one of the greatest careers in sports history. August 16th, 2003, the day Cristiano Ronaldo stepped onto Old Trafford for the first time as a Manchester United player. He was handed the number 7 shirt, previously worn by legends like George Best, Eric Cantona, and David Beckham. The pressure was immense. His first season was a roller coaster of emotions. There were moments of brilliance that left crowds gasping, but also moments of frustration that had critics questioning Ferguson's judgment. The English game was faster, more physical, more demanding than anything Cristiano had experienced. But here's what separated him from every other young talent: his response to criticism. While other players might have crumbled under the pressure, Cristiano used every negative comment as motivation. He kept a collection of newspaper clippings that criticized his performances, reading them before every training session. His teammates later revealed that they had never seen anyone work as hard as Cristiano. While they went home after training, he stayed behind practicing free kicks, working on his weak foot, perfecting his technique. The boy who once slept with a football in Madeira was now living his dream, but he refused to let that dream make him comfortable. But success brought new challenges that almost broke him again. The pressure, the expectations, and a personal tragedy that threatened to derail everything he had worked for. From sleeping in a gym to becoming the world's highest-paid athlete. From being mocked for his accent to being celebrated in 5 different languages. From nearly having his career ended by a heart condition to becoming one of the fittest athletes on the planet. The story of Cristiano Ronaldo's humble beginnings isn't just about football. It's about the power of persistence, the strength of family sacrifice, and the magic that happens when talent meets an unbreakable will to succeed. But here's the most important lesson from Cristiano's journey. Success isn't about where you start. It's about how badly you want to change where you're going. What's the biggest obstacle you've overcome in your life? Share your story in the comments. I read every single one, and your journey might inspire someone else who's struggling right now. If this story inspired you, smash that like button, subscribe for more incredible stories of athletes who overcame impossible odds, and ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest content. Coming up next week, we're diving into the untold story of how a kid who was told he was too small for basketball became Michael Jordan. You won't want to miss it. Until then, remember, your current situation is not your final destination. Keep pushing, keep believing, and who knows, maybe one day, someone will be telling your incredible story of success. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.